Here we are in the middle of a operating round. In fact, in the middle of an operation, which is the purchase of the 6 train. Everybody's pulled things out, and look at all the shares that are out there now available for purchase. That's just insane. Basically, a lot of cash had to be raised. Some people like Orange Hate decided, yeah, I don't want to swallow more than once. I'll do what I can, you know. But if I get screwed, I may have to swallow twice. The only other option is to float that green thing. Yeah, I hope I'm not over. Yeah, oh shit, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, that's 13, so I think I'm good everywhere. He's just got so many shares, and I'm sure I checked it before because I remember counting it. There's a lot of investment opportunities sitting out there. And some of the others, yeah, yellow is going to help fund the red company's purchase, because red is going to be making a lot of money. Is that a great deal? Well, I don't know. I don't have a lot of anything, so not really, but whatever. Over here, purple, I think they're funding blues. That way I didn't have to put as many blue tokens out. I've already got a big holding in them, and I'll be able to get a wealthy run up there, I hope. I could get this for 850, or yeah, this is 300, so it's worth 150 towards the cost of the big thing. It would cost me 850. I don't have that, but maybe with swallows from purple, I can float enough money over to do something to get the extension train and run that. I'm not as interested in it with blue as I am with some, because I can't get to these things. They're just too far away. But I'll be hitting Byzantium with pretty much, as long as I get a decent size ship there. Over there, black, setting themselves up. We already talked about theirs. All right. Well, who just ran? That was gray, who just bought this 6. They could actually buy another 6. I got to think about this, because I kind of don't have enough money for anything more exciting than that. Why not? Let's eat the last 6. Hoo-hoo. That's going to hurt somebody. All right. And then I'll figure out where somebody else goes. One problem with the YouTube cutting me short, not only are the videos disjointed and you're going to catch, you know, we walk away in a really inopportune time, but I walk away during that time and go away from the game to process the videos, and then I end up spamming a little bit and stuff. It wasn't too bad this time, but I could very easily forget where I am. I really miss that, you know, I tried to stay within an hour in general, just because that's a reasonable length. I understand their reasons for it, but I'm just, it really is a pain in the ass for me. Okay. Guess we're on to blue, and I don't think they'll be buying a train quite yet. A lot of swallowing going on. Over here, hey, I don't have much to gain off this little 4. I'm getting 300 bucks in pocket. I think that'll help me overall. Not really well calculated here, but I'm setting up my home base there. Things will happen that look good, I think. I don't really know. Yeah, purple. See, purple's so truncated because of this, and there's just not much I could have done. I guess in the long run, 1, 2, 3, 4, I could have gotten here, but yellow took that. Yellow now has enough money. Hey, I'll buy that 7 train. Now, 7's dangerous for him because he's got 2 4s. I think he's the only person with 2 4s. He's the person who falls apart when the E comes out. And there's, what, 1 7 in the way between him and the E, which means there's people like purple here who are sitting on enough money that they're a swallow away from pulling that 7. The problem, of course, is I got to move money out of here into there and all kind of complex stuff like that. But things could break apart and open pretty quickly. Once the 7 goes, this guy's probably willing to take the big train. He might also be willing to just take the 7 and say screw it, but this really works into his plan very well comparatively. So we go to the next layer, and we are in era 3. I had better use that if I'm going to, because the era 3 usage, era 3 may be over very, very shortly. Okay, well, it's been more or less demonstrated to me that this playthrough has been entirely foobar. Let's take a look. So it has to do, and the same with my prior playing, it has to do with the exploration ships. When we look at the rules aren't very detailed. They try to be kind of sparse, which usually I like. But here, move the discovery ship and build trading posts. Each nation has one discovery ship token. This moves on the map to build new trading posts. The range always equals the actual phase. You can move 1 hex per exploration round. Nowhere on there does it say it returns back to home. And the trading fleet always starts from the home port. But it's possible to establish the home port in a new hex. That's why you need this counter, is because it's sailing around the board. Big deal there. So what, you know, you have a completely different game. And honestly, you have one in which ships become very, very important. You don't have people getting strangled, and there's no desire to buy more ships because you don't have any place to use them. You don't have countries being useless because they're just too far behind to be able to travel anywhere. In fact, I think a lot of the starting companies or countries are much, much more valuable. So somewhere or another it does actually say you start that thing in your home location when you start a company, but I'm pretty sure that there's nowhere where it says it goes back. And I don't know if reading the rules myself I would have caught this, but having played it once where it didn't seem totally ridiculous, and it still doesn't, to play this very, very limited little game where it's very hard to reach these special areas. It's actually a really interesting game. We'll see if I'm going to try to play the actual game next. But I had something else I wanted to play, but you know, I like my XX so much that maybe I have enough energy to replay this right away. I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty convinced that we're doing this one wrong right now. Alright, still continuing with the game as we've been playing it. Red only can really add 1 dot because they have a limited number of spaces they want to go. And then they pay out to keep their stock market value going up. It's a bigger deal. They've got 4 of these. That's not really the big deal because other people are sharing in. But the big deal is that the stock market here, prestige track, is a little funky compared to most XX games. Most of them make small growth to begin with, and it kind of looks like it's doing that. It gets to a little bit more moderate, starts getting bigger, 20 bucks each, great. And then they start going up even more, maybe. This one goes back down to 10 bucks per as you get high. And red is actually going to be hitting where they're not going to be making as big a jump for what that's worth. However, because my brain's locked into that kind of thinking, and also because I need to get my money consolidated into one place, mainly, I bought the 7 ship over onto the red company. Unwilling to purchase anything but the E because they need to get here. Runs their Poseidon bonus, hits all the locations that they can. Orange starts pushing their way toward the Byzantium space. And, you know, it's so much work to get to the good spaces using this misinterpretation of the rule. There's something kind of fun about it. Although I have to say, some of the nations are just really kind of hosed right from the get-go. And nobody's going to start them, and they just get worse as time goes on. Anyway. Let's see. Orange actually did a swallow and picked up their 7, so now the E's are available. We'll see if anybody's going to take advantage of them. So, indeed, that interpretation of the rule that you can move your ships and leave them out on the board is clarified by this example here. Of course, neither I nor the guy who taught the rules to me a couple nights ago really worries about looking at the examples. Things should be clear in the rules, and it wouldn't have taken much. It would have taken a couple of words to say they stay on the map. Now, how many places of couple words would that matter? Well, I ran into another such instance. With the purchase of an E ship, you can trade in one of your other ships for half its value. For example, a 5 ship reduces the E by 250. Okay, but what it doesn't tell you anywhere here is what happens to the 5. Is it available somehow? Maybe it says somewhere else. I'm going to say no, but that 5 is an interesting commodity. And we've got the first E. Now, this is a somewhat less exciting phase change because you're not allowed to release shares. Which means if all you have is 4 ships, you're in a lot of trouble at this point. And this is sort of the one way you can become bankrupt without really kind of trying to. Because you can't be dumped on or anything. And oh look, a couple of people are actually crashing. That's horrible. I hope I didn't just lose the game for myself by buying that. That would kind of suck. Because I'm not going to be able to swallow. I have to come up with $600. I can't do this. Oh Jesus. My whole plan doesn't make sense. You know what? I don't know. Because he's not doing poorly. We're close to the end. I'm just considering, since I've made such a muddle of this game already, whether I should put these back and not buy that ship and not swallow, simply because blue needs 2 ships too. I can juggle a little bit more. So if I don't buy that E, I don't know, I have to undo so much. I'll be back. This is for a small amount of money. I'm just a little short of this, but if I took the 300 swallow, I'd have 800 here. If I bought this for $1, now I get 150 off. That puts me to 950, 960. I'm like $40 short of making the run I want to. So now, yeah. I mean, there's enough money if I juggle that I should be able to do this. Like if I can get the 4 over here, but man, it's going to be ugly. Did some train juggling here, but now everything's all messed up because it's not what I was planning initially. Of course, what I was planning didn't work, but here's the problem. I've got a 5 over on blue. Now, blue actually needs a fairly decent run to get, of course, they won't get the off maps from the E's, but they need a fairly decent run to get both this 8 and this 8. They're not going to have it off of 5. On the other hand, purple's going to have the big E. However, none of that actually matters because yellow has enough cash that if they swallow, they get the E. And that crashes a lot of people's positions. Instead of yellow crashing as they would have before, now only this guy is going to have a real problem. It's going to jump us. There's no special opportunity to sell shares at this point. That's going to jump us to the next stock round for whatever it's worth, because again, this play is kind of crapped out. We definitely had fun playing it this way though, and it's an interesting game. It's just much more tightly constrained, and there's some serious difficulties with some of the nations. But you figure, okay, What's up with that? Well, I don't know. All right. Onward. Notably, because there's an infinite number of E-trains, once you hit the final stage, you don't remove one of them. I've been bad at removing them, or forgetting to remove them before. Now, I gotta make sure not to. Well, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. There are more than I need for this. And at this point, really, it's buy up shares of things. There's no real likelihood that something's going to drop in value. Although, honestly, a company that's, if a president's holding something that's not terribly worthwhile, you might want to dump shares of it. I don't know. There are some people who might be close to certificate limit, like this guy over here. You might want to dump shares of Orange, although sitting there with 2 permanent votes, I guess that's pretty unlikely. Everything's permanent now, but one thing to note, this game, permanents aren't necessarily the bonus, because the diesel hits everything, and even with 2 permanents, you still don't get to double up on locations, so you can't hit your richest locations multiple times. So that's very different from some of the other XXs. So getting these 2, which are cost a total of $1,200, is still less than the $1,000 that you paid for this. The only possible exception is, I guess you could hit both of these, but why is that a particular advantage? No, you can't. You're still running 1 run, and it starts from one of your starting locations. Yeah, no, it does nothing. This is just automatically better than any combination that you could possibly have, and it doesn't help to have additional trains on that company, except that someone else might be able to pick them up. The only company that looks kind of questionable, the purple, he'll probably drop his share of that, and he's unable to drop because there are no others out in existence. Low with its low stock value and powerful trainage, even though it's not got a lot of locations, is really attractive, and those have just been being bought up, and I think he's going to buy the last yellow. Although he could actually afford something a little bigger, so let me think a little bit about that. Because gray is kind of interesting. It looks like it's going to end up hitting Mike and E. The slow expansion of trade is still present in this game. I definitely need to take a look at how this is going to work. Played as it should be with the boats staying on the board. But with Mike and E, let's see what we can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could conceivably hit some other stuff. And that's a pretty good looking run. I'm not calculating out the exact amounts of runs, but I think that $100 is actually worth more. Unfortunately, I don't have quite that much money. And it might be worth me selling a red for 190, just to capitalize on more shares. That thing's worth 2 other shares. It is making $20 a share here, which black makes, and it's only running a 7 ship, which, yes, it's going to be hitting some good rich stuff, but I don't know that it's twice the value of these other companies. Something kind of interesting happening with the stocks. People are preferring grays to everything else, selling those big reds, in some cases blacks, but, yeah, I point to the red when I say black, but here's the thing. This guy sold off one of his reds. This is now vulnerable. He could take that company. How big a deal is that? That's hard to tell. It doesn't have a lot of cash in the treasury, so there's not going to be a lot of thieving to go on. The question is its location. It's in a better position to take advantage of the Mike and E. However, the locations that it has, so it would be coming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 perhaps, don't really help it that much. Now, gray here could come 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. it could just run a single train and I could move a train over to the red, but that involves juggling things. So I'm not really sure it's terribly worth picking this sucker up. And this guy actually can't sell any of these. Because when you're king, you can't get rid of the position as far as I can tell. The wording on that's a little strange. Let me see. The 3 merchants on a king's card can never be given up unless the king card itself is transferred to another player, which only happens during change of government as far as I can tell. So it's a little different from some of the other from almost all the other XX games, where you can sell the presidency if someone else has shares out there. I think I'm stuck with these 3 certificates. So these 3 merchants. The only way I lose this is if he buys it out, and it doesn't look like a terribly good investment for him. He may well, because he's got a low number of shares, be dumping these 190 shares. They're not, they're a little better than everything except black, based on the share value that they gain. Okay, well, all the stock manipulation, whatever that amounts to, has taken place. And mainly it's a matter of just using up whatever cash you have. There's 2 things here. So nobody reached certificate limit. Now, it's quite possible to do so. This guy's a point behind. My feeling is one of the reasons is the trains came out a little quicker than the last time I saw, so more money had to be saved up for trains or boats in this one. But the other thing is, I think my failure with the rules has reduced the incomes enough, has reduced the production of the companies enough, that nobody's got, a clear full portfolio and extra cash, which I suspect is not that abnormal a circumstance. The real thing is the incomes have been lowered and kept drastically low because you can't go out scouting wherever you like. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But there are things I like about the way this plays. It's a little different from anything else. Anyway, we do go into the operating round, whatever that is, exploration round. And what we're going to see there, and with the purchases, we saw a certain optimization. So like a lot of the red shares disappeared. I don't know why this guy's sitting on so many. He did not really optimize his shares, other people did, and he's going to pay a price for that. In fact, he really should have bought the company, but just so he could take advantage of the Mikini space. But he chose not to, and whatever. He's going to use it with Gray, who has a lot of extra shipping. So we still have the cards to operate. Black. I don't know. I have 700. I need to be swallowing them. It doesn't make sense to trigger this now, but it will never make sense again because I'll have an E. So I don't know what's going on with that. Somebody still's got a black. Wow. Most of those got dumped. I'm just looking around trying to see what things I screwed up, because part of the problem is yesterday I had some errands to run. I stopped in the middle of the stock round, and it obviously affected my decision-making capabilities, but it's not that big a deal because I'm not playing properly by the rules anyway. There's also a certain discouragement level when I find out that I'm playing something this fucked up. It's hard to want to keep playing, and it's kind of hard to want to play by the real rules again because I got so far, especially. I don't know, but we'll do it. So I guess Yeah, there's basically no money coming in. The only question is what you want to pillage from your companies. You got to look at each of your companies. So like this one, look, I have 30, 45 bucks. I can pull 20 around. Well, that means I'm going to pull 5, I think. That 5 isn't going to matter in terms of all the thingamabobbers. The temples are worth multiples of 10, I think, in order to access. But I think they're all dropped down to 0 value. So I'm just going to be pillaging money from most of these companies. The only real exception, Black, has things to do. Those guys have things to do with money. So I may think about them a little bit more. Anyway, it's a kind of interesting case. They have to swallow in order to get to this space. I don't know if it's worth more money or not to do so. It looks almost like it isn't, but I had to do this because they didn't quite have the 750. Well, that gave them $1,000. They could just buy this outright, but it doesn't make any sense. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do the trade-in, and that puts more cash on hand. I'll be able to dump more money from my company. And again, I didn't do that correctly either. I don't really give a shit. Because I withdrew the money thinking, oh, I'm going to need that, I'm going to need my $1,000 or whatever. Yeah, I probably could have withdrawn more than I did, but I'm not absolutely sure about it. But now I have a ton of cash. Again, I can't pull it all out, but I'm just kind of blundering through this stage of it because it's kind of weird. So the thing is, normally you want 2 trains in an XX game, but here it makes no damn bit of difference. This High Point was a 32 run with their little, they have 2 6s, so they got a lot of span to what they can hit. And I don't remember what oranges was, 7, 13, 19, looks like 32 as well. Weird. I don't remember it being that high. I was at like 27. Pretty sure I didn't pay out that much for them. Jeez. I don't think I'm capable of playing games anymore. I gave out an extra $8 per because I'm pretty sure I counted it at 26. I think I just forgot to count Byzantium, which still doesn't account for it. I don't know. Maybe I counted 24. I'm pretty sure I did not count 32 for that run. And this other one was indeed 32, right? 6, 12, 15. No, this one was 29. I really don't know. I probably should take that $8 per share away from people but I know I didn't give him 200 and something, which he was due. Part of the problem here is I have my fucking phone turned on because of house hunting and such not. Well, not only turned on, I have it turned on for work usually, but nobody calls me. But with the house hunting shit, I'm getting calls. So I got a call now at like, whatever this is, 7 in the morning or something before I go to work. And I'm here doing this, and I've got this fucking disruption. And then, I actually pause before I take the black turn, run in to get it. And by the time I get to it, it's, of course, done ringing. It just serves as this annoying distraction. I don't have my voicemail turned on for various reasons, because I would never check it, and I don't want to confuse people thinking they're leaving me messages. And, so I don't even get whatever the call is. I've got the number, but I don't want to call it back. And these people are supposed to know. I've told them I don't like telephones. Email me, text me, whatever. Don't fucking phone me, because it's just such a, here, I'm going to shove my fist up your ass and then you're going to have to deal with it, type of aspect. I don't want that kind of interaction with me. I like my butt pristine. The interesting thing is, and I don't think this will ever happen. Well, it may. I don't think it's as likely to happen with the full development, but one company has kind of a really nice route built. Orange does too, but Blue has this great route running from an 8 over here at Pella over to the 8 at Byzantium. and I'm doing it on a 5 boat, and that's it. I need more boat for them. I can't afford to, you know, do whatever it takes to get that additional boat. And basically it's a choice between running between these 3 or whatever I could pick up here. And I think I might have been able to get another thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, everything is filled that I could reach. So yeah, basically, you know, it's either these 3 locations, one of which is an 8, or now it's 4 of these. I think I can get a 5th one, because I think I can hit here. I can't make this crossing, so I can get like an extra 3 to what I'm getting. I'm only getting 22 for that run, whereas I have, you know, the locations that it should be much, much better. Sparta here has an E, so they can go wherever the hell they like. So I'm sailing off over here to the coast and picking up stuff there, and planning on landing here. It's really just a matter of, I've got to get, you know, all my tokens down in places that are within range, and optimize their value as much as possible. There's a couple of useful ones here, but there's only so much time as well, and I can't run between both of these. So they're at 16, 22, 33, which is the top currently, and they have room for growth in a way that orange, for example, doesn't. I think black may, but black's kind of stretched, in the sense that they only have a pair of 6s. They might not be able to improve their route, and if they do, it's by $1 or $2 or something like that. The thing with this, there's no sort of end game dotting that cuts things off because of the nature of the game. So, and I hope I didn't screw up with the market. I know when we were playing opposed, we forgot a couple of times. This, I don't really remember if these 2 were together, but everything looks so tight together, I don't see how it could have been otherwise. So basically, it becomes much easier to spreadsheet the game. Here we have the runs this time. The ones with slashes have some potential for improvement. There is definitely some difference. Like blue is only making 25 per, because of their tiny, 5 ship that they're running, whereas yellow with the big E and a lot of prime territory at this point is making 42 per. However, you know, there was a cost to getting to that level. It's hard to tell who's kind of doing the best. Orange looks like he's in pretty good shape with a fair amount of space that he can cover, a lot of shares, reasonable share value, and he's making in what I'd call that middling range. I mean, really, almost everyone, 29 through 35. Red's making only 27, but and blue at 25. They're sort of on the low end. Yellow's sort of all alone up at the high end. And I mean, you can draw your lines where you like, but it really does look to me like yellow's got the big run, but orange is in this kind of nice position. Red, you know, hey, stock value is way up there, but we're getting to the point where it doesn't really matter. You're always getting $20 per share. So that last round investments in orange wasn't necessarily all that important. Gray only making 29. Part of the problem is this Mikini. I really should have gotten that into Red's hands. He should have bought it out Red, taken it over. Everybody who held Red would be happier, including the president, because there's not really that much advantage to the presidency. All there was a few bucks in the company treasury. They got pulled out. Looks like most of the company treasuries will be drained. Blue will have a few bucks left. Black is going to have a ton left because they were just short of being able to buy the E-train with a straight trade in without swallowing. Put them in a position where they could have bought it outright. If black probably is $20 in the hole that they could have produced otherwise had they not done that. Now remember, they gave up a permanent ship for that, and that means they would have moved forward another space. It's only one space in this instead of two because you don't move back when you swallow. And I don't know. Their income, though, at 35, they wouldn't have been anywhere near that. They would have been at that low end, lower than blue. Blue's getting 25 off an equivalent ship, but they're hitting this richer area over here. Black wouldn't be hitting it. They wouldn't be getting the big Kairini. So, you know. And a quick run through the end of the line with just two people getting increases. Purple up to 36, yellow up to 47, a $4 and $5 increase. Just kind of picking one more spot. In both cases, they're out of tokens. Other people, blue and gray, have tokens, but they don't have enough train or shipping to be able to take advantage of it. Already determined there. Money's handed out. People with 1,000 in cash. This guy's got it too. But actually the cash doesn't look that heavily differentiated. This guy's got 1,200 here. Oh, this guy's probably close to 1,000, even if he doesn't manage to exceed it. That guy's a little below. But then there's also stock value, and obviously those reds have made a lot of ground, but again, the people who are holding them aren't holding as many shares overall. So we'll do some quick calculations and see what we end up with at the end. It's kind of an academic exercise. The game that I accidentally blundered into is still an interesting XX game. It's not the one the designers intended, and it's got its definite flaws in terms of, you know, balance between the cities and such, not in a way that I feel like it's, you know, more telling. And there's a reason why one of the countries did not come out at all. Really close, actually. Everybody within a few $100s of each other in cash on hand. Share value. Wow, almost spot on. I mean, it kind of didn't matter, right? What you picked. If you had the reds, it meant you were under your share limit by more. That's really all that it kind of meant. And I don't know, if we look at the payouts for this last round, when we could have done things like reds making 27 per share. This is definitely a loser to be holding. If he wasn't going to take the takeover and use the Mike and E that way, he definitely shouldn't have been holding it, because it's the worst investment on the board in terms of how much it made per share. So he made a couple of mistakes. He didn't take it over or dump it. He should have done one of those two. In terms of total value, though, everybody's really close. We're looking at a $300 span, with really, you know, 3 of the 5 up there. But it's this first guy with the orange went for lots of shares. I think the issue is that all of these little kingdoms can make some cash. He ended up with a double boat, which meant, you know, maybe not as good as the E's in terms of total coverage that it can take, but still able to make quite a bit of cash if we take a look. Orange is in the 32 here, which really there's only 2 people ahead of that. One yellow, which was just kick-ass with lots of tokens and an E left, and black, who also had an E and a fair amount of tokens, not as well positioned as yellows. I don't know, what's the numbering? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know, what it comes down to is there's only sort of so much you can do no matter where you are on the map. Now, some things got hammered, like blue had this potential advantage here, but it got canceled out by being truncated. That kind of thing, though, wouldn't happen in the full game. So I think there's more room for somebody to break away in the actual, under the actual rules, because what really kind of happened was the people who had big advantages had them counteracted by some other means. And I'm not saying that it would be impossible to break away with these rules either. Certainly when we were playing 3-player, one of the players fell very far behind, and the other 2 were doing okay. All right, I'm going to send this up. I'm not going to do a review based on this. I think I'm going to jump right back in and try to play it according to the real rules and see what the actual discovery with the ships works like, what it's like when you can develop the whole board real quick. that makes positioning of this no longer, you know, the positioning of your extra base under these rules has been really, really a weird thing, because it's like, yeah, I can gain a couple extra spaces towards where I'm trying to go and everything, and these guys are just knocked out of it. Well, instead, you could be looking at, let's run a little area down here and send my exploration ship out to start a colony over, you know, in Asia Minor that's able to make a lot of money. So then it becomes more of a matter of developing the really rich areas. I don't know which one I'm going to like better. There are some features of this that are very interesting. Like, even though the game wasn't designed to handle it, there are some factors that come into play here that I really do like, where you're not able to just say, yeah, screw it, I'm going to run, you know, something out here with the black for the you know, up until the mid game where I don't have a lot of ships, but during the interim I'm going to set things up for a big route where all the value is. Of course, if you get an E route, you get to encompass both of your positions. I don't know. All right, let's end it.